Welcome to the GCN Tech Clinic, where we aim to answer your bike, tech and maintenance related questions. As ever, you can submit your questions down below in the comments section using the hashtag askgcntech, and myself and Terence will do our best to answer as many of them as possible within the allotted time.
Right. First question is a simple one here. Should beginners start with a flat handlebar or a drop handlebar? This, I'm going to say, really depends on quite how you would define beginner. Is this someone that's new to road cycling in general, or is it someone that is really new to the concept of cycling? If it's someone that's new to the concept of cycling and you're sort of starting at real basic level, I would say flat handlebar all day long. It just makes life a little bit simpler for everybody. But it's not to say a drop bar is complicated, because it's like an easy transition to make across.
Yeah. If you're wanting to do mixed surface riding.
Yeah.
Yeah, also a flat bar can be good for that.
Yeah.
Different kind, usually comes on a different kind of bike. But for people who are going to be getting into road cycling, and if you have a bit of experience riding bikes, there's no issue going straight onto a drop bar bike.
No, I'm kind of in agreement with you there.
The one thing I would say that makes more difference is the geometry of the bike. So I would say if you are more of a beginner to road cycling, look to get a bike that's a little bit more relaxed in the geometry, that's a bit more upright rather than really low down and aggressive. But your local bike shop will be able to advise which bikes are better in that regard. Yeah,
I think that upright position will help inspire your confidence a little bit, which is going to be the most important thing, right? Okay, right. Bobman 3073 say, is there a good way to estimate your peak power without a power meter? Frankly, I can't seem to find an estimate I trust. Various calculators have given me estimates from 1,000 to 2,000 watts. It feels like saying, yeah, you were sprinting.
There's just kind of too many unknown variables.
Yeah.
Like, unless you are actually measuring all the other variables, like rolling resistance and which is very hard to calculate because the road surfaces vary so much, and then also the weather and the wind direction and the air pressure. Like, if you're not measuring all, no, basically.
I think there's way too much margin for error. I think some of the power estimates that are out there for like an average over a ride are a little bit closer to what you could maybe expect, but I think short distances, they're miles off.
Yeah, one of the best ways to get into power, and it kind of kills two birds with one stone, is to just buy an indoor smart trainer, and you don't have to be the top of the range sort of Wahoo kicker top of the range thing. There's more affordable options as well, which will also have decent power meters on them.
I like it.
Yeah, like a kicker core.
All right. Next question over to you.
Is from Abe McBeard.
Yeah.
Who says, I wonder if you can help. When I'm cycling, there is an audible clicking noise from either my bottom bracket or chain set. What could be causing this noise, and should I worry about it? Thanks.
Well, it sounds like the clicker needs lubricating.
Yeah.
No. Look, finding clicks and ticks on your bike can be an absolute nightmare to do sometimes, because it's not, well, I'm going to say 9 times out of 10, it's never the first thing you go to look at. Things like pedals, things like axles, quick releases can often cause these noises, and then the noise sort of like travels through the frame a little bit.
Yeah.
And kind of like tricks you into thinking it's in certain areas.
Yeah, it can be, there's just lots of different things it can be. We've done videos on like diagnosing clicks and noises on your bike.
Yeah, I was going to say some simple things to check is to make sure nothing is either loose or over tightens on your bike. Often, sometimes if you undo a component, you'll hear it sort of like make that noise or slight thing as the tension is released off it, and indicate that the threads could need greasing and stuff like that as well. Look for loose components, and then make sure everything that needs to have grease and lubricant on it has got grease and lubricant on it.
Yeah.
It's a simple way without knowing much more information.
And then also a classic, sometimes a click can be your front derailleur just rubbing.
Yeah.
Like your gears are not properly set up or indexed.
Okay. Right, next question is from Ollie Booth 6138. They say, I've got 2 questions. Ooh, 2 for the price of 1. Does using a speed sensor make the bike computer battery drain faster? I'm going to say I've never seen this tested, but my common sense wants to say yes, it does, because it's connecting to a wireless sensor and may well drain the battery ever so slightly faster. And then bonus question, if I use 25mm tyres on 21mm internal rims, will it affect the cornering compared to 19mm internal rim? Marginally, basically it's going to mean there's a little bit less tread on the sidewall of the tyre because the tyre's sort of ballooned out ever so slightly more.
Yeah, I think if you're using a 21mm internal rim,
25 is pretty narrow.
Yeah, like I'd go 28 on that.
Yeah, 100%. I think, well, basically what I said, the wider the internal rim width on the same tyre, it just makes the tyre sort of balloon out more, and then the areas of the tread that were meant to be on the side end up being nearer the top, basically. Yeah. So I'd probably avoid that. If you want to use a 21mm internal width, as Ollie says, try a 28mm tyre.
Okay, we've got a crazy comment now from Crazy Jack. Who says, carbon bike damage. Is using a coin to check the sound of a bike a reliable method to determine if the carbon is damaged and the bike should not be ridden? So what's he doing here? Is like going with a coin and just tapping it?
This is actually something I've heard before. Have you not heard this before?
No, people do this.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna explain to people at home and also for you. So the theory... I don't want to condone this as a great method of assessing structural damage on a bike, but if you were to tap with a hard object, a coin, fingernails or anything, across a carbon fibre tube, you would hear a dead sound as you would get to an area that was potentially damaged and the carbon fibre wasn't so tight. That's the theory behind it. I'm going to say it's not a reliable method, and if you want to be like sure to put your faith and trust in a bike frame, say descending at 50k an hour or something, you want to know for absolute certain that it's okay. Therefore you would want to see an expert.
There are people that can check frames for you who do this, like friend of the channel, Rob at Carbon Bike Repair.
Yeah,
he has specialist gear to check frames, x-ray them and just analyse them.
I think they use some sort of like ultrasound machine. Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah. So I would do that. Go to an expert, get it checked to give you real peace of mind, because if it does go wrong... It's not
worth risking it, is it?
No. Like, skin and life is much safer, and more important, sorry.
No one wants to be on a bike going down a hill at 50, 60k an hour.
Well, actually,
it fails.
Yeah, just to extend on this question ever so slightly, when the new Canyon Aero launched a few weeks back, I was out at Canyon Mega Base and I spoke to one of their test engineers who was in charge of all the different testing equipment. He showed me some real clever stuff they have, and it highlighted how what appeared to be the tiniest little hairline crack in a bit of paint, when you cut that cross section open and looked at it under a microscope, you could follow down the crack all the way through the material, the entire way through the carbon fibre. So externally,
like a fissure.
Yeah, like externally, you go, there's a little sort of crack or line in my paint. Internally, the carbon fibre is separated. So that really highlights why you need to be careful with this stuff. There you go. In fact, I really want to use some of that footage that we filmed, so I'm going to have to think of a good video for that.
Yeah.
There you go.
Ricky DK says, hi, I'm a man who is 188 centimetres tall and weighs about 100 kilograms. I've been experiencing numbness in my lower region while cycling. Despite trying 7 to 10 different saddles and adjusting my riding positions, the issue persists. Will getting a bike fit guarantee that the numbness will stop, or should I focus on losing weight first? I think I know who this is.
Do you actually?
Yeah, it's that pole vaulter.
No, it's not. It's not the pole. It's not the French pole vaulter where his gentleman air knocked the pole off. Right, we shouldn't joke.
Could be.
It could be. This is a serious question, right? I know you're messing around. First thing I want to address is being comfortable on the bike isn't down to like body weight. Like, I don't think this person losing weight is the reason that they're uncomfortable on the bike. I mean, it might help slightly, but I think the issue here is around bike fit and saddle positioning and the type of saddle that you've got. I know they said they've tried lots of different ones, but they've tried 7 to 10 different saddles. There must be like thousands of different designs out there.
Are your shorts too tight?
Well, yeah, I think there's lots of different things. A bike fit isn't a guaranteed way to solve your problem, but I think seeking expert advice is, and maybe even going to your local bike shop and speaking to them and looking at some of the different saddles that they've got is going to give you an indicator of maybe products that you've tried and different products that are out there.
Yeah.
But it sounds like if you've tried differences yourself, you are going to need to seek help from someone that's like an expert in that area.
Yeah, and maybe try a different person, a different saddle expert. They might have a different bike fitter, saddle person might have a different perspective on it.
Yeah.
They might show you something that someone else has not done.
Yeah. Okay, last question, over to you, Ollie.
It's from New Horizons English, who says, I would like to ask about saddle fore and aft adjustment. It seems like some elusive thing that people just brush past and never talk about enough. Anyway, what are the implications of adjusting it back and forwards? I have alluded to this in a recent video where I spoke about why I've changed from a size 56 to a 575 and gone up a size, because it does have implications for that. But the biggest things are like how it affects your hip angle, and if all of the things remain the same, like if you're going further forwards, then you're going to need a longer stem.
Yeah.
If you're going further back, you're going to need to shorten that reach. It's going to affect your hip angle and that sort of pedaling motion, but it's also going to affect your weight distribution over the bike. And so there has been a school of thought in the past where people would go really far forward, in akin to like a pursuiter or time trialist, and get into like that more of that of an aero sort of position. And while that's good for aero, I think what hasn't been discussed enough is that how that does have a negative impact on handling. Time trial bikes handle terribly if anyone has tried to corner on one. And that's because your weight distribution is off. Your weight is slammed forwards over the front wheel, whereas if your weight is more evenly distributed over the bike, it handles much better and it corners far better. So that's the sort of trade-off really, and something that people should be mindful of.
Yeah, I like those points. They're interesting. The first and simplest thing that comes to mind for me is literally just slide in if you change nothing else on your bikes out, but adjust the fore and aft of the saddle, it's really affecting where your knee sits over the pedal axle, be that in line with it, behind it, or in front of it. Like the sort of old school, traditional, basic way of looking at your bike fit is that you generally want to try and keep things in line when you can. And the idea is that when your crank is in the most forwards position, you would, broadly speaking, try to have your knee in line with the axle.
Yeah, and it can also be dictated by the length of your femurs, for example.
Yeah.
That's going to impact it and where it's right and optimum for you. But yeah, bike fitters will be able to help you with this.
What catches some people out is the difference of bikes, whether they've got an inline seat post or a layback seat post. Because you might look at it and go, well, I have the saddle really far forwards on this bike, but on the other bike, I seem to have it like really far back because the seat post is affecting it.
Yeah.
So there you go. Lots of different factors to think about, but some to sort of start looking at first.
Yeah.
Right, that's it for this week's GCN Tech Clinic. I say it every week. If we didn't get to your question, I'm sorry, but be persistent and maybe it'll be in next week.
I'm going to turn off the chain waxing machine. Waxing a chain while we're filming that.
Yeah. What a nerd. Right, see you, bye.